This is Sharisse Coulter having an awkward conversation with my friend Abby.
Who's also awkward.
You are a Jewish lesbian rapper.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about that. When someone says they're Jewish, I've never known if they meant that as a religion or an ethnicity, or is that like a cultural thing? Like, what does it mean?
That's
exactly?
a good question, and I think a lot of people ask that question about Judaism. I mean, for me, it's definitely a religion, but it is also a culture and an identity.
I was raised Christian and don't consider myself Christian at all anymore.
Right.
So for me, that's always been a confusing point. The idea that you could not be observant but still call yourself,
right.
Like, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Was there ever any like pressure for you to marry?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
You didn't even need the rest of the question for that one.
There was pressure not to date non-Jewish boys even. It was always
And
assumed.
what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that is inherent in Jewish culture and in lots of other cultures too, of like, you know, you stick to your kind, and not even so much of like, because our kind is better than your kind, but more of like a survival of the Jewish people.
You're married to a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an issue at the beginning to some degree, probably, but yeah, I mean, we'll pull out the other, the other,
your wife.
Yeah, that I'm married to a woman, so it was like, that was the big hurdle to get over first.
Sure.
And I think once my parents worked through that maybe the religion part was also a little bit easier, but I think it was more that they just loved my wife, and so they were able to make peace with it. But even when Kelly and I first got together and when Sky was first born, I wasn't super comfortable with doing Christmas.
So was that a discussion that you and Kelly had to have?
It was a discussion we had. It was discussions over time, and I think it was also my own growth that had to happen. I really had to check myself, and I'll be the first one to say that for a while I did not make it easy. But now looking back, I think, oh my gosh, like what was I even thinking? Like, because I want to raise a child who knows about all different forms of belief, religion, non-religion, lifestyle, families. You know, I want to introduce her to all different things and then let her pick what resonates with her. You know, we should support things that bring the family together and bring joy, and not be so busy labeling them.
As far as, I mean, obviously there's been a huge spike in anti-Semitism and prejudice in general. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel sick to my stomach. Like I feel scared, and like I said, I feel like it's something that I didn't really expect to see in my life. Something feels different about it now. I grew up very aware of the Holocaust. I went to a Hebrew day school. We observed Yom HaShoah, which is Holocaust Remembrance Day. I remember thinking about it a lot as a kid about, you know, what would it have been like if that had been me, and how would I have handled that, and I can't believe that happened so recently. But to see the increase and to see it more closely, it's terrifying.
You're obviously married to a woman, but you've also dated men. So do you feel comfortable if someone calls you a lesbian?
It doesn't bother me if somebody calls me a lesbian by any means, because I'm married to a woman and I'm raising a daughter with her, and I'm committed to her. So yeah, I'm in a lesbian relationship. How do I define my own personal sexuality is probably a little broader than that of, you know, either bisexual or queer. And you ask like queer, I feel like just means you don't fall necessarily specifically into one label or another, but you're something that's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good, because I mean, obviously I'm familiar with the term, but I've never really known who would specifically classify themselves as queer and not as, you know, any of the other options.
I have loved men and women and feel that I can have a, you know, physical attraction to either gender.
Right. So it's not, for you, it wasn't like you were denying your sexuality when you were with men and then you suddenly like found yourself when you're with women. Like you feel like you've been full relationships with both.
Yep. It's never been that clear for me. But as I've just learned more about gender and read more about gender and lived my life and grown and changed and become a mother and, you know, all these different things, I've just become more comfortable accepting in myself that things are just a little more fluid for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think also the older I get, the more I learn that I'm not for everybody, and no, not everybody's going to agree with me. Not everybody's going to like me. This goes for like life, relationships, work, you know, that you try to find your tribe and you try to connect to your tribe and try to inspire some positivity. This has been an awkward conversation.
Wait a minute.
It actually hasn't. It hasn't been awkward.